Hi guys, well it's New Year's Eve, it's the end of 2012. I hope you had a good Christmas, I did too. We made it to the end, the world didn't blow up, so I thought I'd go and do my best of and worst of 2012 movies. And I thought I'd start off and get the negativity out of the way and do the worst. I have to say I haven't seen every film this year. I did purposely avoid a lot of ones that I thought were going to be bad. Some I checked out of curiosity to see if they really were as bad as people were saying. And the good ones, like Django Unchained, that a lot of people are talking about, and Argo, I unfortunately missed those, so they didn't make my top 10. Not saying that they would have done anyway, but going by what other people are saying about them, they might have made my top 10, but unfortunately with something like Django Unchained, I'm going to have to wait until 2013 because it's not out in the UK until then. Anyway, let's get on and do this list. Okay, so I'll start off with the worst, as I said, get the negativity out of the way. At number 10 was Total Recall, the remake. Not a particularly terrible film in any way. I have to say that it was hard to pick a bad top 10 because 2012 was a pretty good year for films. A lot better than 2011 anyway. And I sort of struggled to get really, really terrible films into the list. So I'll start with Total Recall. As I said, not a bad film. It was actually good in some places. It looked nice. It was very Blade Runner-esque. It's actually more of a homage to that film than the actual Arnold Schwarzenegger one. But then it started going over a lot of old ground that I'd seen in the previous film. It wasn't as funny. It wasn't as tongue-in-cheek. It took itself a bit too seriously, if I'm going to be honest. Some of the action scenes were pretty boring. I found myself yawning through the film, and overall it just felt pointless, really. I didn't even bother to get it on Blu-ray. I was much happier just to stick with the Arnold Schwarzenegger one, which is a lot better. And if you've got a version that was a lot better, there's really no point to have remade it. At number 9 was Twilight Breaking Bad 2. Now, my wife loved this film, really enjoyed it. She thought that the outcome was better. I have to warn you, I'm going to do some spoilers on this one and probably some others. She thought that this film was really good and had a satisfactory outcome. The best Twilight film for me has been Eclipse. The others I just haven't cared for at all. But that's one of the things when you're married, you have to go to films that your wife will probably like, and then she returns the favour and she'll go to films that she might not like. So that's why I've ended up seeing all these Twilight films, even though I haven't enjoyed them. But with this one, I was particularly annoyed because we had this great big smackdown at the end. There was this fight. Main characters were getting killed. People's heads were being ripped off, and I was actually on the edge of my seat, going, "My goodness, I am actually enjoying this Twilight movie. This is actually a fantastic moment. What a great fight!" Now I haven't read the book, so I didn't know what the outcome was going to be. But apparently this is a compromise between the book and the film, and to keep everybody happy, it turns out that this great fight was just in someone's head. It was just a premonition, and it ends up with the good guys and the bad guys deciding not to fight because they'd seen this premonition, and everyone, it just ended like that, really. I would say everyone lived happily ever after, but for me, the bad guys still seemed bad, and it just felt like I watched 2 hours of something that was unresolved, and that was the final film. So the whole thing just felt unresolved to me, and very disappointing. Number 8 is John Carter. This is the granddaddy of all sci-fi stories, and they made this film, and for a sci-fi film, I was just bored. I was yawning through it. It had some action scenes that weren't too bad, but there was just long, big gaps of people talking about alien things that with made-up words, and I just found it a very dull sci-fi film. And if you've got a sci-fi film and it's boring, then yeah, it's not good. At number 7, The Bourne Legacy. This is a film that was just pointless, really. They decided to make another Bourne film because Bourne films were popular, but they didn't have Matt Damon. So they use Jeremy Renner, and Jeremy Renner's a good actor. I like him in The Hurt Locker, and I liked him in Avengers. But in this, he really didn't have anything to work with this character. It was just basically he's got to get from A to B. He's got to take this injection that's going to get him off drugs. It's going to make him less dependent on drugs. There was no twists. There was no surprises. It wasn't, the actual story was nowhere near as clever as the Matt Damon Bourne films, and even the set pieces just were dull and disappointing. So yeah, sorry about that. Number 6 was Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. This could have been a really funny, zany vampire film, kind of done in the style of Buffy the Vampire Slayer with Abraham Lincoln. But it really what it tried to do was be serious. I think it's Benjamin Walker who plays the main character, Abraham Lincoln. He's the best thing in it. He's a good prospect for the future. He looks like a young Liam Neeson, so I'll be interested to see what they use him in the future. But the rest of it, it tried to be serious, and you know, when you got Abraham Lincoln fighting vampire hunters, it just become ludicrous. The 3D was no good, and the CGI wasn't very good either, and I found myself just not enjoying it at all, and was glad when it ended. And I think really at the end of it, I thought to myself, I'd rather have watched Blade and then waited for the Abraham Lincoln film by Steven Spielberg to come out next year. It's coming out next year in the UK, another film that wasn't able to see this year. 5, That's My Boy, with Adam Sandler. Now, Adam Sandler's in one of my favourite comedies of all time, The Wedding Singer. But it really is turning out that he's making terrible films, and just can't seem to make anything decent nowadays. And this is just pure old humour. It's just unfunny, and it's actually pretty tasteless. You know, with the whole idea of a child having sex with an adult and then having a kid, and they making jokes about it. I mean, if it turned out that the child was a woman and the adult was a man, then it wouldn't be funny and they wouldn't make a film about it. But because the child's a boy and the adult's a woman, oh, it's a big laugh. And I just found it really tasteless, and the film wasn't funny at all. And I really don't know what made me want to even give it a go on my, you know, watch it on my friend's DVD. Number 4, The Devil Inside. Another film I caught on a friend's DVD, and what a crap film this was. It was just awful, and the ending was just what was that all about? You know, go and see it, go to a website. It didn't even have an ending. It just had this thing where you have to go to a website to find out more information. And I went on the website, and it was just a really really bad film. Rock of Ages is number 3. I don't like musicals, but I went along to this. I thought I'd give it a go, but it just was horrible, and the acting was really really bad. Russell Brand once again proving that he shouldn't be making films. And the songs, you know, I thought, oh, these songs are going to make me feel nostalgic and remind me of the 80s. But it just made me think, oh my God, what are they doing to these songs? They're totally ruining the ones that I like. So it was just horrible. Let's move on. 2, Ghost Rider, Spirit of Vengeance. Saw this film early in the year. It was really really bad. I actually thought that this was going to be an improvement on the first one, but they actually managed to make it worse. And the just awful. The whole storyline, I found myself not caring and just looking at my watch and thinking when is this going to end? Nicolas Cage was terrible as always. You know, he has done some good performances in the past, but I think the awful ones are now sort of clouding my mind, and I struggle to think of when he has done a good performance. Leaving Las Vegas, but it just seems such a long time ago since I've seen anything good that he's been in. And all the good scenes, all the good action scenes and everything that you saw are in the trailer. So if you ever want to see the best parts of Ghost Rider: The Spirit of Vengeance, just watch the trailer, because the whole rest of the movie is complete garbage, and definitely saw it early, thought, wow, this is going to be one of the worst films of the year, and it was one of the worst films anyway. Because number one is Keith Lemon, trying to. You got Keith Lemon on TV. It's pretty funny. Celebrity Juices in TV in the UK. Very funny comedy panel show. But making a movie about this character, it just didn't work. It wasn't funny at all. I just had to see this to know if it was truly as bad as it was, and it's actually worse than the trailer. It just tried to like cash in on the In-Betweeners and the success of Borat and stuff like that, but this is like the terrible side of what they doing this, making a TV show into a film. A bit like Kevin and Perry. That was another awful film based on a UK TV show. So if anyone in the US is wondering what Keith Lemon the film is about, don't bother, it's garbage. Okay, so that's my worst of 2012, and now I'll do my best. At number 10, The Raid. Fantastic martial arts film. Was on the edge of my seat the whole time. Loved it. Didn't mind that it had subtitles. I thought it told the story really well, just with the action scenes, and the 2-on-1 fight at the end of the film is absolutely breathtaking. Totally recommend it to anyone who's into martial arts films or loves good action. Number 9, Skyfall. One of the best James Bond films I've ever seen. Right up there with my favourites, which are the Sean Connery ones, especially Dr. No and Goldfinger and From Russia with Love. I love this. It's this film. It's not only just a good James Bond film; it's a good film. So I can't recommend it enough, and I'm really looking forward to the steelbook that's coming out next year, because it looks a really nice one. Number 8 is The Grey. Absolutely fantastic film. Very emotional. The endings really got a lump in my throat, and I don't often get that. And I love the way that the film talked about looked at themes of death and faith and basically how you deal with mortality, and it's a great film. Loved it, and Liam Neeson is fantastic in it. Number 7, this really split people down the middle. You either hated it or you loved it, and that's Prometheus. I'm in the camp that loved the film. I think that you can't, you can look at it and there's a lot of things that they do that are daft and are silly, but I don't know, I was kind of swept in with the whole thing. I enjoyed it all the way through. I thought it was a fantastic sci-fi. Can I defend it against people who had the problems with it? I don't think you can. I think it's like Marmite. You either love it or you hate it, and I don't think you can persuade either side if it's good or bad. Number 6 is Dread 3D, and I thought, wow, this was going to be just okay. It's going to be good. I never thought it was going to be as fantastic as it was. Stallone had made a version of Dread years ago, and that was complete crap. But when I saw this version of Dread, I was absolutely blown away. Yes, it has similarities to The Raid, where they're going through a high-rise building, taking on the bad guys. But Carl Urban was fantastic in it. The action's great, and this has got a brilliant villain as well. And I just can't wait to see this on Blu-ray next year. Number 5 is Looper. A brilliant sci-fi. It felt fresh. It felt like something new, even though it borrowed a lot from, it used a lot of themes from sci-fi films you've seen before, especially the time travel. And time travel, yes, it's been done many times, but it just felt fresh and new in this. Great performances by Bruce Willis and Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and I thought it had a fantastic ending outcome. Really, really satisfactory film, and loved every minute of it. The number 4, Life of Pi. Now, this film was a beautiful film. I loved it. Uses a lot of similar themes to The Grey, but in a different way. It confronts themes like mortality and how we deal with our faith, and how we deal with the loss of loved ones. And it's also a great fantasy film as well, but the 3D in it is amazing, and it's definitely the best 3D I've ever seen, and that includes Avatar. The CGI is fantastic. It's very seamless. I didn't realise when they were using real animals to when they were using CGI. It was that good. It's great to see CGI is actually really on top of its game now, and it's definitely up there now with the best of special effects. And a great performance by the young man who played Pi, and I can't wait to see it again. At number 3 was the Avengers. I mean, what more can we say about this film? It's just a great adaptation of comic book characters, and Joss Whedon did a fantastic job. He put all these characters into the movie, and this could have been taken over by Tony Stark, and he could have eclipsed, with Iron Man, he could have eclipsed everyone else, but he didn't. This actually used all the characters perfectly, and this is definitely my favourite movie that stars the Incredible Hulk. So, and the fight scene at the end is great, and it's a wonderful film, and I can't wait to see Iron Man 3 next year, as well as Thor 2. At number 2, you've got The Hobbit. Now I think this split people in 3 ways, this one. You either loved it, you liked it, you thought it was too long, you hated it. And I was in the loved it crowd. I love Tolkien film. I love Tolkien, should I say, Tolkien books, information on Tolkien. I've got like encyclopedias. I was glad they put as much information in here as possible. I think with this film, Peter Jackson had a problem. Now, The Hobbit is a children's book. If he'd have done a faithful adaptation and just done the Hobbit story, it might have actually alienated more people. People disappointed that it was too childish and too light-hearted compared to The Lord of the Rings. So what he had to do, he had to make it more, give it a more universal appeal. So he had to take stuff from the appendices, make it a tiny little bit darker than what is in the book, and it was a tough task. I think because he brought out The Lord of the Rings, and because people are now familiar with those themes in that book, going to The Hobbit and making it more like Lord of the Rings, because obviously he doesn't want to alienate people that like those films. He has changed things, and maybe people who are faithful to the book might have been put off by it, or maybe people thinking it's still too light-hearted. It was a very tough act to follow The Lord of the Rings, and it's understandable that it did disappoint people. And also it's understandable that some people felt it was too long. I think what he could have done was cut it and made it a bit shorter for the theatrical release. But for me, I loved it. I thought it was fantastic, and I was happy that it was as long as it was. Okay, and number 1 is, well, I haven't mentioned it yet, is The Dark Knight Rises. Another film that disappointed quite a few people. It seemed to be that case with a lot of the films, a lot of my favourite films anyway, that there were people who had problems with it. They had problems with the plot in this, plot holes and stuff. I personally felt when I watched it the second time that a lot of the criticisms that people were coming up with were answered in the film. I do get some of the stuff that people have issues with, but I think if you watch any film, you can find issues with it if you want to. I think it's a case of whether it bothers you or not, and that's the wonderful thing about films. They make great discussion. You can argue and or either agree on stuff, and you can sit there in a bar and have a drink, and you can talk about films for ages and have a great time. And I think the worst type of films are either the ones that are forgettable, and you go out of the cinema and you just forget about them in a couple of minutes. But with the really the bad ones, even or the great ones that cause the most debate, they're the most interesting. And Dark Knight Rises for me was a great film, and that's why I would probably happily sit there with someone who didn't like it, and we could discuss why we felt so different about the film. So yeah, that's my list of best and worst of 2012. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope the video wasn't too long, and I hope you all have a happy new year and a wonderful 2013. And I will most likely do a video of the films I'm looking forward to in the new year. I'll catch you later, guys.